Well, Razorback fans, that was stupid. That was dumb. That was a waste of time. Arkansas lost to Vanderbilt, the worst loss of the Muss era. So let's just go ahead and talk about this trash.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of the John Nabors Show, which you can catch every weekday afternoon from 4 to 6 on Natty State Sports and nattystatesports.com. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Wednesday as I am sitting here at 1 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday in my Natty State Sports office, and I just had the pleasure of going to Bud Walton Arena and seeing a doozy of a game. Arkansas Vanderbilt. Arkansas lost, folks, in case you can't tell by the tone or in case you were doing something better with your life last night. Arkansas lost to Vanderbilt 85-82. Vanderbilt is the bottom of the barrel SEC team next to Missouri. Just terrible. Terrible team. They had 7 wins on the year. They had now 3 SEC wins. And they're a team that has not scored 80 points or more in a game this season. Until last night. Scored 85. Arkansas made it a game, made it interesting in the end. They were down 15 points and got within 1. Kudos to them for that. But it didn't matter, and it shouldn't have mattered. Because if you look at the stats, if you look at the percentages, if you look at the stuff that just makes you want to punch yourself in the face as hard as you can, it's really, truly incredible to see just how disgusting of a game that was and then disgusting an effort that it was by Arkansas. Arkansas shot 40% from the field. It's not great, but it's not bad. 33% from threes. Arkansas had 10 threes. Arkansas shot 84% from the free throw line, 26 of 31. Arkansas only got out-rebounded to Vanderbilt by 1. But seeing the second chance points, 15 points for Vanderbilt, 3 to Arkansas, it's pretty telling. As well as points in the paint. 44 points for Vanderbilt, 26 points for Arkansas. So Arkansas goes 40% from the field. Vanderbilt goes 51% from the field. But what's weird about it is it's not threes. Usually it's threes, you feel like. No, Vanderbilt shot 4 of 16 from three-point land, 25% from the three-point line, but 51% overall, which tells you exactly how they were able to get their points. They were just working Arkansas inside and inside the paint and making them look silly, making them look dumb. Vanderbilt had 7 assists. Arkansas had 12. There's just so much about this box score that just makes me sick. Caleb Fano had 36 points in this game. Another incredible performance by him. 9 of 17 from the field, so that's pretty efficient. 4 of 10 from three-point land, 14 of 17 from the free throw line. And also had 6 rebounds. Problem was the 6 turnovers. That ain't cutting it. That ain't going to get it done. Then you throw in L. Ellis, who actually played a good game. Offensively, at least. 19 points, 7 of 12 from the field, 3 of 6 from three-point land. Hit both of his free throws. 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Only 2 turnovers. 36 minutes played. But defensively, it just didn't look good. Then Tremont Mark, who I know has been dealing with an injury. 3 of 11 for 15 points. Made all 8 of his free throws. 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 turnovers. That was it. That was the team. That was the offense. Trevin Brazil did play a bit, 17 minutes in this game. Bowed out, 7 points, hit a 3, 6 rebounds. But to sum up the whole thing, like Arkansas Brazil had one of the dumbest fouls I've ever seen in my life. There's like 6 seconds left in the shot clock late in the game, and Arkansas's down by 3, and he just jumps at a guy and fouls him. Inexplicable. Just whatever. Mekhi Mitchell didn't exist. So much for that SEC, all SEC Mekhi Mitchell talk. 19 points, didn't score a single point, had 5 rebounds. But you just made Vanderbilt one of the worst teams. They only had 3 guys that even played well, really. Lawrence, Majon, and Lubin. Like, those are the only guys if they had 22, 21, and 19 points, respectively. Lubin went 9 of 10 from the field with 12 rebounds. He owned you. And, this game was close in the end, and it got interesting in the end. But it just still didn't matter. It just didn't matter. This team is not, I don't understand. All the good favor, all of the good performance that they had over the past 2 to 3 games, even the game they lost against Mississippi State, you still felt like there was something there. They were still fighting for something. And then this is how they followed it up. There was times where they just looked so lethargic. Like they didn't even care. And the fans, I feel bad for the fans that actually showed up to this nonsense. There was a very sparse crowd. But I don't have any problem with the fans. I don't have any issues with the fans. I'm someone who's maybe been a little bit upset or critical of fans if they don't show up to certain events and certain games and in certain circumstances. But for this season, I don't blame fans for not showing up in droves. This is not an enjoyable basketball team to watch. They're not playing for anything. They're not going postseason. So why show up? But the fans, at least, the dozens that were there towards the end, did get loud, did get a little crazy, did get wild. It was too little too late. Didn't matter. You should have never put yourself in that position. Vanderbilt was just getting anything that they wanted inside. Arkansas's defense was horrible across the board. And what's crazy, too, is in the final 7.5, 8 minutes of the game, Arkansas nearly doubled their points. Arkansas, with 8 minutes to go in this game, had 48 points. And they scored 82. So Arkansas scored nearly 40 points. Nearly 40 points in 7 minutes. It was too little too late. It's the worst loss in Muss's tenure at Arkansas. I don't even think it's close. It's also the first time Arkansas's lost to a quad 4 team in the net. There's just zero excuse for it. I'm in a position to where I just wonder, is it all going to come to an end? Is it all going to be done with? How is it going to be viewed? I don't know. I really don't know. Makes me nervous. Makes me wonder what the future holds. But I am just so disgusted with that performance, and it's embarrassing. And for Arkansas to lose 6 games in Bud Walton Arena, where's the magic? Where's the pride? Where's the time that you were going to look people in the eye and know that you had the confidence to say, hey, Bud Walton's worth 10 points because of the intimidation and the energy that it has? And it's not a fan problem. It's a team problem. It's a program problem. Your worst loss, some of your worst losses this year came at home in Bud Walton. It is unacceptable. There's zero excuse to losing to Vanderbilt at home. How did we get to this point? How did we get to the point to where we're at right now? It's pretty incredible, but for all the wrong reasons. But I will say, we'll talk about that in just a little bit because I think there's a lot to try to dive through. But I got to tell you first about Gametime. Fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. We know that the sporting events, not the Razorback basketball team, because there's going to be plenty of tickets available there on Gametime. But you can also, maybe for the Razorback baseball team, which you're going to be looking forward to. Maybe you're trying to get to a Major League Baseball game, maybe an NBA game, maybe a comedy show, maybe a concert. Whatever it is, Gametime is the app to use because you can see your view of your seat before you buy. And you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. They have all-in prices to show your total up front. So you know when you're getting a great deal before you actually check out. You can buy tickets in seconds with just 2 clicks. So it makes it really easy, gives you all the deals up front, and you're never going to have any of these hidden fees that all these other apps and all these other people try to throw into you there at the last minute. So be sure to check it out because they give you a complete peace of mind with your purchase, and it makes it so much easier. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime because with Gametime, you can go and use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Yeah, you just download the app and use that promo code easy, locked on. You know how to spell locked? You know how to spell on? Locked on, one word, $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, the lowest price, guaranteed.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. So how did we get to this point, folks? Like, that's the biggest question I think I have is just what did we do? How did we get to this point specifically with our Razorback basketball? Like, how did we get to the point where it fell so quickly and so hard? And we're just sitting here trying to figure out why and where and how. Like, I mean, there's just so many questions that we have. I look back and I was looking at the time when Arkansas added these transfers and the excitement level that was coming along with it, for me at least. Because I felt like, okay, well, last year you had the freshmen and nobody wanted to deal with freshmen anymore. Like, I just moving on from that. How did you get to the point to where you can respond and to be better this season than what you were the last season? Like, how do you do that? Well, you go and get experience. You get transfers. You get a guy from Houston who played on a great team, and get a guy in a score like Ellis from Louisville, and you get a Caleb Battle from Temple. Like, you get all these players that seem to really help you out, and get some key returners like Devo and Trevor Brazil and all of that, and make it work. I was excited about it. Not having to rely on freshmen. I mean, you had Layden Walker and Bayfall. But that was about it. The rest of the team, you just put together with experience. Seems to be a winning recipe. It's worked before. So why wouldn't it work now? And then you had all the hype surrounding it all. And you get to that exhibition game against Purdue. And I know it was an exhibition game, but man, when you saw Arkansas play in that game against a really good team, a preseason top 3 team in the country, and you saw what they did against them with a bunch of new guys, new players, they won. They looked good defensively. Offensively, they had some things going. It seemed like they really shared the ball. And I remember even tweeting about it and talking to everybody. I was like, man, if this is the worst this team is going to look, then it's going to be a great year. Because you would think the worst you'll see a team is in, especially a team of new people and new players, is in the beginning. That's what you would think. But then time went on, and we know games went on. And they had a couple of stumbles in the road. They went down to the Bahamas and barely beat a terrible Stanford team and should have beaten Memphis, but they just didn't look good in the end, and then they got smoked by North Carolina. But it's like, okay, well, you got banged up a little bit. You got humbled a little bit. That UNC, Nashville, or whoever that was, Greensboro, I always get them confused. But anyway, that game you lost, you're just like, what in the crap? But before that, you had Duke. You beat Duke. You rushed the court. A crazy atmosphere and a crazy game. It was wild. Bobby Petrino was there. And that was the game where it felt like, hey, all right, you're back on track. You're back in action. You did it without Tremont Mark. Felt like it was all going according to plan. And then from that point on, it just went to absolute trash. It's unexplainable. It's weird. It's so weird because you saw how good this team would be and could be when they were playing well together. Like, I get that in sports, if you play good as a team, odds are you're going to have success. But they had the talent, and they had the depth, and they had the positions taken care of, and they had the swagger to them. Like, it just seemed like everything was right there where it needed to be. You had it. All you needed to do was just come together and play well. Seemed like a simple concept, especially if you wanted to succeed, but it just wasn't going to happen. This team has done the ultimate teasing of looking good one day and looking horrible the next. Taking one step forward and 2 steps back. That's what they've done this whole year. Like, imagine them, like, it wouldn't surprise me at all. I know it's crazy talk, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if, like, Arkansas just beat Kentucky on the road on Saturday. Like, I would not be surprised at all if something dumb like that happens. And then they lose to LSU, but then they beat Alabama on the road. Like, that's just how this team has been this year, where it's just, none of it makes sense. None of it makes sense. I don't think I've ever seen a more disappointing year in Razorback sports that I can remember. And even the ones that were disappointing for various reasons, you could at least explain it. You know, you think back to the 2012 Razorback football season. You could explain it a little bit because it was the John L. Smith year. Like, well, John L. Smith, all of that, without Bobby Petrino, that's what it went out, and it was just bad. You could at least point to that and explain it. Throw in another year. Think about the Darren McFadden season. His final year. Arkansas went 8-4. They're expected to be better than that, and I know that was still a solid season, but you could chalk it up to the drama surrounding Houston Nutt and the Malzahn stuff. There's always things you could just point to pretty effectively and just say, well, this is why. But this is the year where, of all the sports, it's like, I'm at a loss. It just doesn't make any dadgum sense. And it's just unfortunate. I just realized I had the wrong graphic up here the whole time on this thing, too. It's 1 a.m., folks. Give me a break. I was wondering, I was like, wait a minute, that does not look right. How about that? It makes me think of the next page is probably going to be messed up, too, but that's okay. Bear with me. It's all about the content anyways. Folks, I got to tell you, though, before we talk about Razorback Baseball, which how about some positive notes we'll end on. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to shoot your shot. It's FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast, and yeah, look at that. I did to get the wrong graphic up there. I can fix it real quick. Boom, there it is. You're fine. Everybody knows it. Let's talk about Razorback Baseball. They, the offense, if you were not really feeling it against the 3 teams that Arkansas faced down in Arlington, which offense was not existent for Razorback fans, he definitely got in their midweek game against Grambling. Arkansas beat Grambling 21-1. Run ruled them in 7 innings. Just absolute domination from beginning to end. You had a grand slam. Excuse me, 2 grand slams in this game, which is awesome. I wanted to see a home run there in Globe Life, but you couldn't get it. But you had 20 hits, 37 at bats. That's a pretty good percentage, I'd say. You had a few guys that really put it to it. Like Lovich goes 3 of 3. Peyton Holt goes 3 of 3. You can throw in Sprague-Lott, goes 2 for 3. Diggs goes 2 for 3. Edmondson goes 2 for 4. I mean, you really put it together in this one. And offensively, you made it work. You got some good pitching out of some of the young guys. Like, Colin Fisher was the starter in this one. He only pitched an inning, though. Did get a strikeout, and that's 12 total pitches. And Coyle comes in, goes 2 innings, gives up a hit. Gets a strikeout, though. He goes 2 innings. And then you got Dossett, who comes in for 1 inning. Gets 3 strikeouts, which is pretty good. Faced 3 batters, had 3 strikeouts. Dylan Fouch comes in for an inning. Gets a strikeout. Gage Wood comes in, gets 2 strikeouts. And then Tate McGuire at the end does give up 3 hits and a run, but ends up getting 3 strikeouts after facing 6 batters. So it's really, this game is just more about getting the experience for the young guys, especially the pitching. But it's also nice to see just getting some offense, getting some confidence. To me, that's what the team needs more than anything. It was just confidence building. Because how could you have any confidence in the offense after this past weekend of nonsense in Arlington? I don't know how you could. I don't know how you'd feel good about it. I wouldn't. So it was just nice to see them really put it together. Now they got a few more weekends until they get to SEC play. Still want to see a few more things. Still want to see it more consistent bats. Still want to see some of the guys you're going to really count on as the year goes on to start performing and start putting it together. But overall, I thought it was a good performance, and it was nice to see the offense go. Grambling's just not good. I feel bad for them, but Arkansas needed that probably more so than anything. That's for sure. Appreciate everybody listening in to the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get it from me on Twitter at BuzzJohnNabors for any questions, comments, concerns you may have. Keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you then.